Hello and welcome back to the Urban Pharmacy Podcast. It's me, Stacey, your holistic nutritionist, plant-based coach, and waterless beauty and business mentor. I sure hope that you are having the best day ever. Today, I'm interviewing Ted Carr, also known as Fruitarian on Instagram. I am laughing because when we start this interview, you're going to hear Ted saying that I wanted to meet him. And you know what? I did. Why would I want to meet this man so much? Well, I have been following Ted for a few years and was just absolutely fascinated by his all fruit lifestyle. And quite frankly, I had never met anybody that just lives on fruit. Like this dude lives on fruit. And so when I saw him at Woodstock Fruit Festival, I was like, wait a minute, you're a fruitarian. And I had to talk to him. And I really also wanted to talk to him a lot about entrepreneurship. So not only is Ted a fruity dude and eats a ton of fruit, and we're going to talk all about that, and he lives a raw lifestyle most of the time. He also is a successful entrepreneur. And, I think it's really important to surround ourselves with people who are successful in the entrepreneurial space, especially if we are entrepreneurs ourselves, or if we want to be an entrepreneur or make money from home or from anywhere in the world. And Ted is going to give you some of his top tips with that, and also his tips with lifestyle to help him find success. Now, before we get into this episode, I want to be sure that you know that you can have success in your own business venture if you choose to partner with me and do the Waterless Beauty Consultant gig. Let me give you a little bit more information. Oliveda is this amazing European holistic beauty brand that I found in 2023, and it has completely changed the trajectory of my business game. I am so thankful that I found this 20-year-old brand from Europe that just came over to the United States as a direct-to-consumer model. So what this means is people can enroll, they can join my team, and they will earn a commission for everything that they sell. In addition to that, if they want to build more of a steady paycheck, they can choose to ask other people to join with them, and they will in turn get a percentage, specifically 10 to 5% on top of their 25 to 35% commission for anything they sell. This is a really great company and a really amazing brand, and it's only going to continue expanding. Everything is based on the beautiful olive tree. The skincare is bioactive and organic. It's waterless and based mostly on olive leaf extract, highly efficacious. The science is there to back it all up in terms of gut health, skin health, and all of that. So the science is covered. The financial aspect is super lucrative. There are bonuses to add on to your monthly and weekly compensation. And there are also trips to earn, plus a really rock solid community to join. If you are looking for more of a collaborative effort in your entrepreneurial journey, and you want to have support, and you want to have other women that are growing personally alongside you, then definitely join my team. All you have to do is click down below and click the join button if you are interested in seeing more about Oliveda and the waterless beauty concept, or you can simply find me on Instagram. We can chat via DM. But this is a really great opportunity for you to add to your current stream of income or to create your first stream of income. I'm here to mentor you and guide you along the way. And I want to make sure you know that there's a great business opportunity with Oliveda. So, all right, now we need to get into the episode with Ted. So here he is. Ted Carr, welcome to the Urban Pharmacy Podcast. I'm super stoked to have you here.
I'm super stoked to be here. Thanks for having me.
So we are both live from our cool walking treadmills because steps are important, and health is wealth, right? So I actually am really excited to talk to you today because I've been following you for years. I don't know how I found you, probably maybe because of a raw bundle that I was in, or I'm not really quite sure, but I've been in the plant-based world for 15 years, and I know you've been living the plant-based lifestyle for a long time. And I want to get your story on that. But you have been evolving, and it's been awesome to watch, like, your growth personally and financially, and it's super inspiring. And I did not know that you were coming to Woodstock Fruit Festival this year, and I saw you and I was like, I think I know who he is. I was like, I think that's Ted. And yeah, it was you. And here you are with some people, like with your friends, and you're that you call teammates, right? That you work with. And it was awesome to get to know you. And I ran after you one afternoon because it was hard. It was hard to talk to people, to talk to adults, because I had our son and like I was just trying to keep him straight. But I was like,
You were building up the courage to speak with me.
I was building up the courage to speak with you. I'm like, I want to talk. I want to tell him to come onto my podcast and like I want to get to know him more. So yeah, I did. I ran after you literally like an idiot because I don't know, somebody was watching Cohen and I was like, Ted, I've got to talk to you. So you're like, yes, I'll come on your podcast. So here you are. And I'm really stoked. So, okay, here's the deal. I want to start with your lifestyle. I want to start with, well, right now you're in Mexico. You're living in Mexico, but you're not from a warm area. And I know that that's something that you're definitely like most humans like crave, right? You want to live somewhere warm. So how long did you live in Canada?
I lived in Canada basically nonstop until I became a fruitarian, which was up till about age 19. So for 19 years, I lived in Canada. That's all I knew.
Okay. And how old are you now?
33.
33. And so you've been living a fruitarian lifestyle. Can we break that apart a little bit for the people? Because they might not understand. They know what plant-based means. But so now what? That's 14 years now for you that you've been, I can do math, right? 14 years that you've been living not just raw, but mostly fruit.
Yeah. Yeah, 99% of my calories. Well, so the first 10 years of the diet was 100% raw. And 99% of my calories came from fruit during that period. The other 1% would be like nuts and seeds or some vegetables or something, but like 99% fruit. And there was a period during those 10 years where it was like 3 years of no vegetables, just pure fruit and coconut water.
Yeah.
So that was like the 10-year fully raw period. And the past 4 years have been high raw / mostly raw. So it's still like most of my calories come from raw fruit. And then I do have occasional bowls of like rice or quinoa or something, but it's like maximum 600 calories of that because I know it's 1 cup. That makes 600 calories. The rest of my calories is fruit.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. So, I really do like starch too. Starch is kind of awesome. And it's a good way to get calories in, it really,
when you say starch, you mean like sweet potatoes or something?
yeah, like sweet potatoes or rice. Yeah. I mean, I freaking love rice. I'm not going to lie. I love it. And yeah, I mean, it's a good way to get calories in, right? And especially like when you're eating in this low caloric density way, fruits and vegetables, mostly fruit, that's like 200 calories per pound. So you actually have to eat kind of a lot, unless you have access to like mamey sapote and like, durian, which are higher caloric density fruits.
Yeah.
And of course, if you're eating a lot of avocado, which can get a little heavy though, if you're feeling, like eating a lot of avocado can get a little heavy. So yeah, starch can be a good way to build up those different amino acid profiles. So I think that's interesting. Now, how did you find this lifestyle? Was it just through Dr. Doug Graham?
No.
Okay.
I found it through 30bananasaday.com.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I guess I initially found it through Brendan Brazier, the founder of Vega.
Oh, yes. You know what?
Yeah.
Because I started my plant-based journey literally 15 years ago. So like you and I found plants around the same time. And he was like, it was Alicia Silverstone's book called The Kind Diet that I found. And I was like, oh, I want to eat, all plants. And that's when I went plant-based. But then Brendan Brazier, his book was the second book that I got. And I was like, oh my God, this dude is eating all raw. And he's like this triathlete and he's freaking ripped. And he has this new like supplement line. And okay, so you found Brendan. So 30 days a day.
My aunt was like, I went over to my aunt and uncle's house and I was in her kitchen and she's like, she went into her pantry. I remember exactly where I was sitting. It's funny how you remember moments. So like in the moment, they're not that important, but like years later, you remember the exact moment.
Totally.
So I was just in her kitchen, my aunt's kitchen, and she goes into the pantry, a big walk-in pantry. She comes out, she's like, here, your uncle doesn't like this chocolate protein. Do you want to try some? And she puts it on the table and I look at it, it's like this vegan chocolate protein. And I'm like, I read the label and it's like, he had to have Brenda's like picture in his little bio in there. It's like Brendan Fraser formulated this protein blend as a professional triathlete. And I'm like, I want to be a professional triathlete because I was training to be a triathlete.
Oh,
And well, if it's good enough for this guy to be pro, I'll definitely take it. And so I started eating it. I was like, this is amazing. And then on the label too, it said like, go to this website to get his book. I think it's like Thrive or something.
yeah.
So website, got the book. I read the book cover to cover and I was like, this is so cool. Like I can have like this advantage over all these other athletes if I just optimize my diet. And I remember he talked about in the book, he said, he suggests for most people like get 80% raw diet because of the power of raw foods. And so I was thinking, well, if raw foods are so powerful that he recommends 80% of our calories come from raw, what would happen if we went 100% raw?
Yeah.
So I started Googling that and I found all these like super skinny, weak, raw vegans living off celeries and carrots and kale and stuff. Like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. But I subscribed to all these newsletters. This is back in like the early 2000s, I guess, or 2012 or whatever. No, 2009-ish.
Yeah, 2009, yeah.
And I subscribed to all the newsletters. And then I got this email one day and it was like, vote for your top favorite raw vegan website. And so I was like, okay, I'll vote. And so when I went to go vote, there was like this big list of all these different raw vegan websites, and they were all listed alphabetically, and you're supposed to like vote for your favorite. But I was just using it for research purposes. And it's like at the very top, it was listed alphabetically, at the very top was 30bananasaday.com. So I just copy pasted that, put it in there, and I was entered into this world of like all these fit vegan athletes who were smashing in the carbs and all the bananas, all the dates, and Freely and Enduring Rider were like the poster children of that era. And so I got swept up into that, and that's how I learned about Doug Graham, et cetera, Enduring Rider, and the whole like fitness crew. And yeah, for a while there, I changed my last name to Carb, so it's Ted Carb, not Ted Carr. So hardcore into carbs. But yeah, ever since then, like it's crazy because my diet hasn't really changed ever since then. Like I've just been eating more or less the same stuff ever since I was 19 years old.
Wow.
Like because once you find the holy grail, you don't need to switch. Like it's fruit. Once you live on fruit, you're like, this is amazing. And anything else has consequences. There's no consequences to eating fruit. Anything else, there's a side effect, there's a consequence. You have a price to pay for eating anything other than fruit.
I love your mentality. It kind of cracks me up. I saw you post that a few days ago on Facebook and I was like, what is he talking about? But like, no, I do actually get what you mean, because there's kind of this like high. It's like you live on, it's just a different vibration. And until people understand, if they go, if somebody gives themselves a chance to eat like all raw fruit for a month, like they'll get it. They'll get what you're saying in terms of like there's consequences to eating other things. Like when you add in those nuts and seeds, you might feel more heavy, and
even saying the words nuts and seeds, how you're gonna feel when you eat a big meal of that.
Oh yeah.
Like just say the words nuts and seeds. How does that feel in your belly? Like it doesn't feel smooth like a banana or mamey or an avocado. It's like
right.
It's like rough.
Yeah.
It's like scratchy and
yes.
hard and it's indigestible. So if I was going to have nuts or seeds, my favorite method would be to blend them, strain them through a nut milk bag and drink it, Nice little delicacy treat, but
right.
I'm not going to eat that stuff.
So, all right. So you found this lifestyle, you started feeling better. I mean, did you have a health transformation?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Were you living on a standard American diet like I was before?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I was so bought into the protein myth that I thought I was doing my body good by going to McDonald's and asking, I'm not kidding, I went to McDonald's and I asked for extra beef patties.
Yep.
Because they were like extra 50 cents. So you get like a much bigger burger for cheap.
Yep.
And I would just get all this extra meat patties. And then I would go to the dollar store and get cheese sticks because they're very cheap. And I'm like, cheese is good protein. I'd buy sardines. I'm like, sardines are good protein. So McDonald's, cheese sticks, and sardines,
Oh my God.
like my ultimate go-to because I needed the protein. I thought I did. Such an idiot. I got sold so hard. And I loaded up on that stuff, plus like weight gainer and like whey protein and all this
Yeah.
stuff. And my acne was so bad. My acne was bad before then, but it just like got even worse.
Yeah.
I tried everything then to get rid of the acne. Nothing actually worked. But when I went on just fruit, boom.
Wow. That's awesome. That's so inspiring. And oh my gosh, I have interviewed multiple doctors and they are all agreeing that like this protein craze is nuts. It's just insane. I mean, I see so many women too that are like in my ecosystem. Every morning they're like 50 grams of protein, like every morning, like, and it's just like bacon and eggs and cottage cheese. And I'm like, dude, I just, yeah, anyway, that's not necessary. We know this. So, okay, I'm glad you had a health transformation. Now, you said you moved away from Canada early on, yeah?
I was 19. I started to toe dip into other parts of the world.
Yeah. And you had, so you had your health transformation around the same time. And were you an entrepreneur at that time?
I've been an entrepreneur since I came out of the womb. Yeah.
Explain.
I've always been trying to like sell stuff and like make money faster than the average Joe ever since I was little. Like my parents, I still remember this. My parents hosted a big house party one time, had a bunch of adults come over. And I went into my bedroom and I'm like thinking, okay, how am I gonna make money tonight? Like I was like 4 or 5 years old at the time. Like my parents
Oh
have
my
like
God.
adults here, adults have money. I want money. So I thought, oh, I'll create some coupons. I didn't know how coupons worked, but I was like, create some coupons. So I took a piece of paper and I wrote down different dollar amounts, like $20 and $5 and $50 and $10 and $1. And I cut them up into like little squares. And I went out to all the adults and I was like, here, pick one. And they're like, what's this? They picked like a $20 one. They're like, what's this? I'm like, that's how much money you give me. And they're like, what? I'm like, for the coupon.
Oh my gosh.
And like nobody bought, but I thought that's just what you did. You just go give someone something for money, right?
Right, right.
And like that's like the base elementary form of understanding of how entrepreneurship works. Like I give you this, you give me money. I didn't understand back then that you actually have to give them something of value.
Yes.
I learned that later on in life when I started selling like Pokemon cards and firecrackers and marijuana and then et cetera, you know?
Got
So
it.
yeah, I've been an entrepreneur ever since lemonade.
Okay, okay. So yeah, I've always had it in me. Like I went to college, but I was like, why am I even here? Honestly, like why am I here? I knew that like no matter what I was gonna do, I was never gonna go and work for someone else. Like in terms of like, especially a 9 to 5, like I was never gonna go and like check in and check out and like do that in my life. I was gonna do what I want to do, and I was gonna make money the way that I want to make money because life is just way too short. Like, and for any entrepreneur out there that's listening, like I'm sure that you can relate. And so Ted, at what point did you decide that you wanted to start helping people online? Because weren't you helping people like dietarily first? Isn't
Yeah.
that kind of where you started
Yep.
in the online space?
Yeah. So I just started sharing my journey. And my first YouTube video is still up there. I'm like whispering to the camera because I'm so shy. But I started making videos just sharing about what it's like to live as a fruitarian in cold ass Canada. And I was like, if I can do it in Canada, you guys can do it as well. But then like a couple of videos later, I was like, guys, I'm going to Panama this winter. I got to get out of Canada. This winter sucks. So then I
Yeah.
showed what it was like to like travel the world as a fruitarian. And I started getting requests from people. They're like, oh, can you coach me? Can you help me like transition? Can you help me overcome cravings? Can you help me detox? And I wasn't even offering these services. People just came to me and asked me for coaching. So I was like, okay. So I started getting some coaching clients, and then that built up quite a bit. And then people started asking me how I was making money online.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to tell them at first because I'm like, well, all I do is upload videos and people pay me money. Like, what more do you want to know? But
Right.
started to do a bit more. Like I started doing like affiliates and selling ebooks and stuff and selling some courses. Then people really started asking like, how are you affording this lifestyle? And I kept getting asked this question so many times. And then eventually I'm like, okay, I made a post and I was like, do you guys want to know how I'm making $2,500 a month? Because that's all I was making at the time. I was like, I'll show you how I'm making $2,500 a month in the vegan space. And I got all these people say, yeah. I want to learn. I want to learn. So I hosted a workshop. I taught everybody exactly what I was doing. Like, I'm doing this. Here's how I'm doing it. Boom, 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 boom. And then at the very end of that workshop, I was like, guys, if you want to work together for the next 30 days and implement everything I just showed you, here's the link to sign up. It's just $300 and you get a full month with me as a group. That thing sold like crazy. I made 18 grand my first month promoting them.
That's awesome.
Just by sharing everything I was doing and then saying, if you want to work with me to implement, $300. So
Yeah.
18 first month, 20 grand the next month, 25 grand the next month. I was like, bam. So that's how it all started. Like, I just taught people everything I was doing. I hid nothing.
And were these people not, so they were not only interested in how to make money, but also to transform their lifestyle, right?
Well, they wanted a lifestyle of freedom. Like, they want to be able to generate the income so that they can travel the world like I was traveling the world.
Right.
And they want to do it in the vegan space. They want to do it as a vegan. So I was teaching like how to do vegan ebooks, vegan courses, vegan affiliate products, etc. How to make vegan content. So it's very specific to vegans. Started with raw vegans, actually. I was like, this is only for you if you're raw vegan. Then I expanded to just vegans. Now I help contentpreneurs in general, so long as they're not promoting meat consumption, animal consumption.
Right. Yeah. That's just like, you can't vibe with that, right? Like you can't even go there. That's so cool. Yeah. I had a high ticket offer, and it was super interesting because it seems like you kind of attracted the same type of people, like people that wanted to live plant-based, but also people that wanted to make money in the online space. And that was what I did for a year, and I loved it. And it was fun. I tried to do it all on my own, which I want to talk to you about. And then I got burnt out. So then I didn't offer that anymore, but it was successful and it's very needed. And I think that the two go hand in hand, like so much. I don't really think that people who want to be successful entrepreneurs can actually succeed long-term unless they put their wellness first. You know what I mean? Like, they have to go, like, your wellness is like the cornerstone of your financial success. Do you agree with that?
100%. Try going 2 nights without sleep and making a YouTube video trying to make some sales. Try going 2 nights with no sleep, getting on a sales call. Like, you're gonna suck.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just 2 nights. Most people skimp on sleep every night, and then they wonder why they have self-belief issues.
Yeah.
You know how much self-belief I have when I wake up in the morning after 10 hours sleep? I'm like, I can do anything.
Right.
My nervous system is like fully healed, it's fully regenerated, it's fully like ready to go, topped up.
Totally.
Most people are just going through life with major sleep debt they need to pay off. That's just sleep we're talking. We're not even talking diet.
Right. Exactly. I was going to say, yeah, a lot of people out there are running on cortisol. They have terrible adrenal fatigue from caffeine and sugar and running on exogenous things outside of good sleep, right? And they're bogged down because they're not eating the right foods, so they don't have the energy to even show up, nor do they have the mental clarity. And it's just like a wild struggle for so many people to just maintain the momentum that they really want. And so wellness, like, if you get anything from this podcast, wellness needs to be like your first priority so that you can actually show up and make the huge impact that you truly want to make. So, Ted, was there a point in your financial growth that you were like, I'm doing a lot and this is actually hard to do on my own? Did you have that like time where you're like, maybe I should ask for some help? Did you outsource anybody for help with your content, for organization, or did you just say one day that you want to change the way you're doing business and like build a team? How did this all roll out to where you are now?
Yeah, a couple of things. I've always had, and I've acknowledged this publicly, and I'm very open about this. Like, I have a very low tolerance for doing things I don't enjoy.
Yeah.
Like, some people can just grind it out and get it done, and they're like, if it sucks, just do it anyway. I've never been that kind of person. If
Yeah,
something sucks, I'm just like, I'll just procrastinate. So I use procrastination as like a source of wisdom. And I'm like, if I'm procrastinating on it, it's because I don't want to do it. And therefore, according to my framework, I don't need to do it. I can delegate it. So I've always been the type of person. Luckily, though, in my online entrepreneurship journey, I've enjoyed almost everything. I've enjoyed making the videos. I've enjoyed having the conversations. I've enjoyed speaking with people on the phone and signing them up. I've enjoyed working with the clients. I guess the only thing I never enjoyed was like the administrative side of things, especially like the legal side of things, like the taxes and all that.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was lucky enough to get mentored in business through people I wasn't even paying. I was just watching a bunch of YouTube videos from like legends in the online business space.
Okay.
And one of the names was Alex Becker. He teaches like crypto nowadays, but back in the day, he was teaching like hardcore online business growth. So I studied him a lot. And he said that as soon as you make your first $10,000 month, you want to now hire out a virtual assistant, and you want to get an assistant to take care of all the administrative stuff and all the legal stuff. And I was like, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I made my first 10K month. I did what he said. I hired somebody. I paid her like 1,000 or 2,000 bucks a month or something. I'm like, here, take care of all the admin, all my email, all the legal stuff, pay my taxes, all that. So that was my very first hire, and it instantly freed me up from doing the stuff I didn't like. So once again, I was like back to like, just doing what I love. But then it gets to a point where just because you love it doesn't mean you should do it. It gets to a point where you're like, okay, I love this, but it doesn't have the highest ROI on my time.
Right.
And it's very repeatable. It's like a system to it. And I could definitely train somebody to do this for me, and it would be their dream job. So that's what I've started doing. I started like documenting my process for certain things that were very important, brought in a lot of money for the company. And I just started training people to do those things for me. And the more money I made, the more people I hired. And so as you saw at the festival, I had about 8 of my team members there, and they're all making really good money just doing the things that I could be doing, but I just don't need to be doing. I'd rather be doing other things that have a higher ROI on my time.
Right. And okay, so you're basically saying like, once you're continuing this, once you get into your growth mode, you're going to eventually find, even if you enjoy doing these things, you're going to eventually find that like your time needs to be put toward the greater good. Like, it's like, how can TED be used at the highest capacity, right? Like, where should you be showing up to make the biggest impact? And I think that you operate from this space. Like, I see that you want to help people. Like, why do you get up in the morning? Like, is it because you just, you know that you have something inside of you that like nobody else has? Like, what is it inside of you that like makes you want to do entrepreneurship and work the way that you do?
It's changed over the years, but now I've got a big team. It almost feels like a little family that I've got. And so it's like, why does a mom wake up in the morning? Why does a father wake up in the morning? Even if they're super depressed, they might wake up just to at least take care of their kids, right? Just to make sure there's some food on the table for the family. So it's like, I'm at a point now where, I have like this mini family. And when I wake up, I know I get to work with them. I get to jam with them, talk with them. And I want to make sure they're well fed. So it's like, I get up and I work. Just a big part of it is to make sure the team is fed. And it's very fulfilling. That's just like on the inside of the company, but it's very fulfilling on the outside of the company when working with our clients, seeing them get results. Like, those are just testimonials or case study success stories from our clients are like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
When someone goes from struggling and not really understanding how it all works and feeling overwhelmed to then having everything dialed and having the money coming in like in a machine-like system, it's a beautiful thing. I love it.
So cool. Kuba was saying the same thing. Like, he's just like, it's really cool to just see people, have a transformation. And that is just like, that meaningful work will make you get up and do it over and over again, right? Like making an impact is just so important. So, all right, I want to know what a typical day in your life looks like, Ted. Like, do you wake up and work out first thing? Do you wake up and do self-development? How important do you think working on your self-development and your personal development and your mindset and then what does your typical day look like? Those are two questions.
Yeah, two questions. Jim Rohn has a great quote. He says, work harder on yourself than you do on your business. He says, work harder on yourself than you do on your business, because success is something you don't pursue. Success is something you attract by becoming an attractive person. You become an attractive person by working on yourself. So yeah, I notice this with all my clients. The clients who actually get the epic results, the clients who actually hit those 10K, 20K, 30K, 50K months, those are the clients who work on themselves a lot. And so that is definitely the most important part. I got into self-development way before I got into business, like online business. And that self-development work that I did back when I was, 19, 20, 21, really carries over now. Even I'm 33 years old, I'm still implementing the tactics and strategies and philosophies and perspectives that I adopted when I was 19, 20 from those, that hardcore self-development era that I went through. So that's massively important. And still to this day, I go for audiobook walks.
Yeah.
So I am consuming the thoughts of the greats. I'm consuming the thoughts of like the people who are like the upper echelon of the business world. And when people who have epic results, when their thoughts become your thoughts, their actions start to become your actions.
Right.
And then their results start to become your results.
Yeah.
So you mentioned at the start of this podcast, you're like, Ted, like, it's cool to see how far you've come and your growth and all this stuff. And in my head, I'm like, I've been living in the wake of these greats. Like whatever their thoughts are, I'm downloading. Whatever their actions are, I'm implementing. Whatever their results are, I'm just getting as a byproduct of that.
Right.
I consume a lot of good info, whereas a lot of people are consuming a lot of BS. On the news, on Instagram, they're sharing memes and shit, like just dumb stuff.
Do you watch TV, Ted?
I don't know how to turn it on.
I know. I don't watch TV either.
No,
I turned it off. Yeah, a long time. I'm like, it's still chilling on the wall. A huge screen. No, I mean, like, that's the difference between getting to where you want to go and staying stuck. And I'm not just saying watching TV is the only thing, but like Ted said, like, your environment matters so much. That is not just like your physical environment. That's like the environment that you're letting come into your brain. That's what you're listening to. That's who you're following. It's all of those things. And if you are not continuously putting things in your head that you don't know about yet, like if you're not continuously learning for people who are doing it better than you, like how do you ever expect to rise up, right? Like
so there's this two parts to this. There's the part of consuming new information, learning stuff you don't know about. And that's usually that's people's like default way of thinking about like learning new stuff.
Right.
But actually, the real power comes from the repetition of the wise thoughts. So if I teach you a new word right now, like in Spanish, you might hear the word, like, oh, that's a new Spanish word never heard before. But unless you repeat that word like 100 to 200 times, you're going to forget that word. It's going to go in one ear out the other. So once you absorb a thought, you're like, that's a really cool thought. Or once you listen to an audiobook, like, that's a really good audiobook. Or if you watch a YouTube video, like, that was a really good YouTube video. You gotta put that stuff on repeat.
Yeah.
You gotta repeat. Like, I've listened to the same audiobooks hundreds of times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like in school, they'd call you like give you like if you like repeat a grade in school, you're considered to have like an IQ deficiency. Like you had to read that book twice, or you must be dumb. So like in school, it's all about next.
Right.
And so I give book recommendations to people. Like, tell what's your favorite book? I'm like, for you personally, Stacey, I'd recommend this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you be like, oh, I've already read that. Like, I don't care. Read it
Yeah.
again.
Yes,
Read it
totally.
again. It's like, imagine you're like, Ted, what's the best exercise for biceps? And I'm like, oh, I recommend the pull-up. And you're like,
Mhm.
oh, I already do those. What else? I'm like, no, keep doing them. Like, those are the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah.
So there's learning new stuff, but you wanna repeat it over and over and over again. That's huge. And so to answer your question of like what the daily flow is, how I work, how I live a daily life, it all starts the night before. Like my morning doesn't start in the morning. It starts at 8 p.m. the night before, where I plan it out. I try to write out what I'm gonna do, short list, and then I wake up and I grab that list and I go and execute. And it's like I wake up and I go right to the computer and I get to work. Blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I work till I can't work anymore, it's usually like 2-3 hours of like work on the computer first thing. Then I go work out or go for a walk to the gym, work out, or I'll just walk a couple laps, like 10, 11 kilometers. I don't know that miles, whatever. You can do the math.
I don't have any idea. Don't ask me.
And that walk, that's an audiobook walk, and I'm either listening to something new or something on repeat. And then I'll come home, eat my first meal around like 9 a.m., 10 a.m. And I'll work some more, and I'll have my final meal of the day around 11:30. And then I work for the rest of the day till I can't work anymore, till about like 6 or 7. And I go for an evening walk, and then I go to bed, write up my list for the day, and do it again the next day. And that routine, oh, I love it. It's so good for me. It's like I
Yeah.
just do the same thing every day.
So good. So, all right. I want to talk about, well, let's talk about this first, and then we're going to go back to the learning new things thing and the repetition. So you cut your eating window off early.
Yeah. Well, early compared to most people, yeah.
Like you said, 11:30 is your last
Yeah.
meal.
Yeah, I'll stop
So
eating
like,
it.
yeah. So you're eating all of your calories early.
Yeah.
Yep. It's the best way to go. I 100% agree. And I've challenged doctors on my podcast. I'm like, all right, but that actually is a little bit of evidence to show that like cutting it off early, because a lot of them say, oh, I don't start eating until noon, and then I cut it off at whatever. I'm like, no, you got to do it early in the morning. Do you not understand the principle of like detoxification and like getting good sleep? And like, if your
Yeah.
food is trying to digest while you're sleeping, how do you expect to sleep well? Like that, right? Like
Yeah.
it's highly encourage anybody that's listening to this to please cut off your eating window early and try to eat your calories early and see how you feel in terms of getting better sleep. It's been life-changing for me.
It's one thing to like have a subjective experience about how much better it is, but I have an Oura ring and it tracks like the quality of my sleep objectively.
Uh-huh.
And so it'll track like my heart rate, it'll track my temperature, it'll track the restfulness of like how still I was in bed, it'll track how long I was in bed,
Yep.
etc. It really has a lot of metrics. And and it gives you a score, like a score out of like 0 to 100 of how good your sleep was. And if you're in the 90s, it's very good. So I had the Oura ring for a couple of years now, and my first year of it, I was always in like the 80s of the sleep. I was like, how do I get in the 90s consistently? Could never do it. I tried all sorts of supplements and different potions and stuff, and nothing worked. I tried to stop using my phone and laptop before bed. It didn't do anything. It was only until this year when I stopped eating my calories at noon that I'm now always getting 90 plus sleep scores every night.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's
See?
like you can objectively measure this. It's like, and when I
Yes.
go to bed at night, I'm laying there. I'm not laying there like, oh, I'm so tired, I gotta sleep. I'm laying there and my mind is so clear. I can visualize things so clearly.
Right.
I haven't eaten for 8 hours.
Right.
And when I wake up in the morning, if there's no hangover, I'm like, zing, ready to go.
Right. It's pretty game changing. For me personally too, like I have, yeah, I don't always, when I'm on, like in terms of that regimen. Otherwise, if it's like 4 o'clock and beyond and I eat, I'm like, dude, no, like things just start to get out of whack in terms of like sleeping and stuff like that. So anyway, so that was Ted's metrics. That was his personal experience. This is my personal experience. Take what you want from it, but also look at some of the science, because science backs it up. That cutting off the window earlier can be
Well,
better for benefit.
one more thing too is just ask yourself, what is the hormone that wakes us up? It's cortisol, right?
Yep.
What lowers cortisol? Sugar. As soon as you have sugar, cortisol goes down. So you wake up in the morning because cortisol is high, right? That's natural. And then you want to lower the cortisol because it's a stress hormone. So what do? You have some sugar. Boom. Have some fruit. Boom. Cortisol goes down.
Yeah.
I used to wait until about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock for my first meal, right? I was pushing it off, pushing up, pushing up. Cortisol just kept going up and up and up and up because I was getting stressed.
Right.
Like, where's the sugar? My body wanted it, but I was like, no, be disciplined.
Right. Yeah.
Now I get to wake up and I treat myself to some sugar.
Yeah. Yeah. Fascinating. Awesome. Okay. So I want to go back just for a minute here and talk about like learning new things. And then we're going to talk about how people can get into your ecosystem. So I want to get your thoughts on, you said the importance of listening to the same thing over and over again, but also, of course, we know that learning new things is also important. For instance, 2 audiobooks that I've listened to, and I'm not even like that religious over here, but one of them is The Purpose Driven Life by Pastor Rick Warren. Now, thanks to my grandma, she told me about it. And I was like, thanks, grandma. That's great. But actually, she gave me the book. And then instead of me reading it, because I don't do well sitting and reading, like I downloaded the Audible book and I was like, okay, I'm going to listen to this. And it's like a daily, like you're supposed to listen to a little blippet every single day. And it's like, what on earth are you here for? And like, and it gets a little spiritual, of course, like what does God want you to do and all that stuff. But instead of me listening to like one thing every day, I just listen to the whole thing, like when I'm on a walk, and it's just like day after day. And I'm like, oh God, this is actually really good. Like, what are you freaking here for, Stacey? Like, why are you on this earth? Like, what is it that you're here to do? Like, and so that's one of that book actually has helped me a lot. And anytime I just feel like I'm like in a rut, I just listen to it and I'm like, oh, the engine's back on. So that's one. And then another one is Think and Grow Rich. It's a movie. I can't remember. I know that. Is Jim Rohn in it? I don't know. I don't know. There's some greats. Okay. Think and Grow Rich. Like that's a really good one too. And those are 2 that I can for sure listen to over and over again. But so you're saying it's really important to continually get the message, because most people don't learn all things in one swoop. Like that is just for sure, right? Like they might learn a little bit, but then have they implemented any of it? It's like probably not. So we have to continue learning and hearing the same thing over and over again until then we start to implement these things, right? But we also have to continue growing and learning new things. However, I want to know from you, Ted, like, do you think that there's so much confusion out there in terms of wellness and entrepreneurship, like that if people just continue trying to learn new things all the time, they're just gonna freaking do nothing because they're so confused, because there's so many like different opinions, right? Just like with the raw lifestyle or the fruitarian lifestyle or the carnivore lifestyle. Like I have clients, nutrition clients, telling me, they're like, but I follow this doctor and they're promoting carnivore, and glucose goddess says like no sugar, no fruit. Like it's freaking so confusing. So how important do you think it is to choose a path and give that a go first, like to give it all you got?
Well, before choosing a path, this is what most people screw up on. They skip this first step. They just jump right to which path am I going to go on? Yeah. You got to take the first step, which is determine what is the actual goal? What is the end goal here? Is the goal for me to get stronger, i.e. push more weight above my head? Or is the goal for me to win a marathon, i.e. run faster, therefore probably get lighter and be able to run faster, or is the goal for me to be able to sleep nonstop for 10 hours without having to get up or without experiencing insomnia, whatever it is? It's like, what is the actual goal? Most people don't have a goal. They just like, oh, I'll just do this. But once you're clear on a goal, then the second step is to actually determine how you're going to track progress towards that goal. as opposed to be like, oh, I'm just gonna run to get a bit faster at a marathon. You have to actually time the workouts. When I go to the gym to lift, I measure the lifts I do to see if I'm actually getting stronger. Once you got the goal in place, the target unlock, and you've got your tracking system in place, now you can pick a path, experiment with it for a bit, and see if it's actually getting you closer to that goal.
Yeah.
And if it is, cool.
Right.
And if it is getting closer to that goal with no side effects, cool. But
Yeah.
it's getting close to that goal, but you got nasty side effects, like let's say steroids, right? You want to get stronger, you want to push heavy weights over your head. You take some steroids, like, yeah, I'm getting stronger. Yeah, but look at the side effects. You've got acne everywhere, you've got anger issues, you know, your whatever it is. So it's like if you can get closer to your goal with the path and there's no nasty side effects, amazing. It doesn't matter which path you're taking now, does it?
Right.
Oh, and ideally another checkbox is like you're not doing any harm to anyone or anything else.
Yeah.
At least one of my checkboxes. So it's like, even if eating animals was better, I wouldn't do it because it's hurting these animals that don't want to be hurt.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, even if that is better, I'm not going to do it because it's hurting innocent animals. So
yeah. And I've never seen any proof that it is. So yeah, I'm gonna put that out there.
Oh, I've got friends that work out just as much as me and they eat meat, and I make just as much, if not more progress than they do.
Right.
It's like, dude, I just eat fruit.
Right.
You're eating meat and protein powder, and you're working out just as much as me. We're doing the same workouts, so it's not like our training's different, and I'm still progressing as much, if not more than them. So, yeah.
Fascinating. Fascinating. So what's your brand?
My brand?
Yeah. Like, what's your business? Contentpreneurs?
Yeah, well, it's a product, Contentpreneurs. Yeah. I guess my personal brand is just my name, Ted Carr.
And fruitarian, yeah.
Yeah, Ted Carr, fruitarian, Contentpreneurs. Yeah. No one really knows how to spell Contentpreneurs, but
yeah.
But yeah,
that's how people are like getting into your ecosystem, right? Like you have a free community.
I have a free community. Yep. I've got I think a lot of people find me on Instagram with my username fruitarian. They see what I post and then we chat. But some people find me on School, SKOOL. A lot of people find me there. School's like this new platform full of communities. It's very cool. It's basically like a whole website for Facebook. Like it's Facebook groups, but way better.
Yeah.
And I've got a big community on there where I teach people how to be contentpreneurs.
And so if people want to, I mean, are you serving people, are you serving a specific entrepreneur, you know what I'm trying to say, entrepreneurial type? Are you serving people that just want to make, $5K a month? Are you serving people that want to make a couple, 20, 30,000 a month? Like, is there a specific person that you're serving, or does you and your team like work with the people and meet them exactly where they're at to get
we typically not. If people want to make less than 10K a month, we don't suggest they consume our content. We don't suggest they take our advice, because our advice is designed to get people to 10K a month as quickly as possible and then help them scale to 100K. So if your goal is like 5K a month, I would suggest that be maybe like a stepping stone or milestone towards 10K a month. Because the truth is, and most people do not realize this, but it's so freaking true, is like, it's just as easy to make 20, 30, 40, 50K a month as it is to make 5K a month.
Yeah.
It's just as easy. And so it's like, if you're going to put in the effort, you're going to put in the time, you might as well aim for at least 10K a month, because you're going to be putting the same time and effort anyway. You might as well get more yield.
Yep.
And it's just because the reason I say it's just as easy is because once you have the system set up, it's just about turning the little dial, turning the knob, and just getting in more sales coming in. It's as a beginner, and I know what it's like to be a beginner. I was a beginner like just 5, 6, 7 years ago. So I know how unrealistic it sounds to make 10K a month.
Right.
Beginners don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And that's why all beginners, just like in diet, just like in fitness, especially in business, all beginners make the same mistakes. All beginners have the same limiting beliefs. And it's fascinating to see how much they progress once you keep knocking down these beliefs one after the other. It's always a belief that was in the way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we work with people who want to make at least 10K a month with content.
I will say I totally agree with you. I have again, I had one high ticket offer, and then went to low ticket because I have multiple streams of income. And I think that the high ticket, like I made $25,000 on my one program, and I didn't have very many clients. It was just 5 people. And that the work to put that together, right? Like I could have made 100,000 if I knew what I was doing and I launched in a different way, like, right? But you have to, just like you said, Ted, like you put the same amount of work, and I see a lot of entrepreneurs doing this. Like they'll put so much time, energy, and effort in putting together these programs, and then they don't do anything with it. It's like you could be making so much money if you just had like that guidance on how to launch it properly and how to get it out into the world, right? And it's not going to take any more work, any additional work, if you get 100 people in versus like 10. So I think that's a really good point that you brought up. And then also the limiting beliefs. I mean, I get them every day. I'm sure you still have to work. Like it's like every day we have to work on that. We have to work on like squashing the limiting beliefs so that we can continue to step up and rise up into our full potential. It's just like crucial. So so good.
One of my favorite quotes from Bob Proctor back in the day, RIP Bob, but he said, some people will drive past a car dealership and they'll see a car and they'll wonder, how can I buy that car? And someone else will drive past the same car dealership and look at it and say, how can I buy the whole dealership?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Look and see, how can I afford the car, or how can I afford the whole dealership? And it's like this, it's going to take the same amount of effort to figure out both the answer to both those questions. And so it's like, you might as well go big, at least in my opinion. You might as well go big. Not that you have to, but you might as well.
Yeah, it's like that little principle of, like whatever, shoot for the moon and land among the stars.
Yep.
Like, or 10x your goal. Like take your goal and 10x it, and then see how far you can go. It's like better than thinking small. So important. Well, so many good messages today, Ted. How can people follow you? I mean, Fruitarian on Instagram, and then what? Ted Carr, where, on what platforms?
Ted Carr on Facebook.
Okay.
Fruitarian on Instagram. Ted Carr on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll find me. Just Google me. You'll find me.
All right. Find the famous Ted and make sure that you start leveling up and consuming his content and getting inspired and stepping into your higher version, because like time is fleeting and life is way too short to play small. So Ted, do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with anybody? I have one more question for you, but do you have any anything that you want to share?
Final thought. This is a fun, tactical, practical, actionable one. Go on Amazon and buy a walking treadmill for your you buy a stand-up desk and a walking treadmill, and just watch how much more of an athlete you feel like at the end of a workday.
Yes. Stop sitting down. So important. So important. Okay, I ask every guest this. I just want to know what you think, because this is the lifestyle that I teach, and it's a holistic lifestyle, but it means something different to everybody. What does holistic living mean to you?
Holistic living to me means I get a visual that comes. There's like a wheel and there's spokes. Okay. And holistic living to me is all the spokes are equal length and equal strength.
Yeah. Ooh, good. That's good.
Some people, they got a big, fat, long spoke on the diet, but their relationship spoke is bent out of whack because they're like, swacko. Their finances, they got a shriveled up spoke, but they don't believe in money. All the other spokes are messed, but the diet is like perfect. They've got the ultimate diet spoke, but everything else is messed. And it's like, I don't want that. I want every spoke to be rock solid. That's
so good. The spokes are equal length and equal strength. I love it. So good. Okay, Ted, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And it was awesome getting to know you more. And I don't know, we'll see each other soon, eating fruit somewhere.
Sounds good, Stacey.
All right. Be well. Take care.